How is everybody doing today? Welcome back here to another episode of Just Ballin', more so towards the 2025 NBA draft, as Jonathan Wasserman, the top draft analyst of Bleacher Report, dropped an NBA mock draft after the Elite Eight. We know that all one seeds are going to the Final Four for the first time in almost 20 years, where you're going to have Duke up against Houston and Auburn up against Florida in an SEC matchup. And I know people wanted a little bit more March Madness this year, and they're going to say maybe NIL and the transfer portal is killing the game. I think, I wouldn't say it's killing the game. Could it be hurting some upsets? Maybe. I'm very happy, though. I think you even look on the 2023 Final Four or the 2024 Final Four, the strength we're going to have, and we're watching the best teams out there and some polarizing draft prospects. Either it's Condon, Martin, and Clayton at Florida. Either it's Broom and Pettiford at Auburn, maybe it's Sharp and Cryer Houston, or all of the Duke prospects. Like, we're going to have really good college players on display, really good draft prospects on display, and we're watching the four best teams in the country go up against each other. And today, Wasserman dropped a mock draft, which I'm excited to kind of talk about. We haven't really talked about a mock draft here on the pod in a little bit. And I think also what's fascinating about this draft, that I think it's going to snowball into other drafts as well, who's declaring and who's not. A lot of these players are putting their names in the transfer portal and also in the NBA draft. And I think if they're getting $2 to $3 million in NIL money, they're going to go and transfer to a different team rather than take the chance on being a draft pick. And yeah, you can make just as much of that as a second rounder, but can you sign that 4-year second round deal? You don't really know. And what if you're an undrafted player and now you're just a fringe G leaguer, and you, I think, could be like one of the main players in college basketball, and you transfer to maybe a bigger market, bigger school, and you could maybe earn yourself some money next year if you're playing in your 4th or 5th year of college basketball. So I think there's probably like 30 prospects, honestly, that I'm going to mention that I think could stay at school, that have already transferred, or at least have already put their name in the portal. So we'll start things off with Cooper Flagg going number 1 overall. Cooper Flagg's performance against Alabama just solidified that he is the number 1 overall pick in this draft. And it's always going to be a little bit recency bias, but everyone's like, he is that much better than Zion. I wouldn't say that because, hey, if you were around for this during Zion's time, he was one of the most hyped up draft prospects we had in a little bit. Like, he was more hyped up than any 2018 prospect. And there was some top guys with Bagley, Trae Young, Jaren Jackson Jr., and DeAndre Ayton. Even the 2017 guys with Lonzo and Markelle Fultz were very hyped up, and Tatum that year. And Zion was very highly rated at that time. So I do want to give Zion his flowers for what he did in college, because he was incredible at that time. But I know, man, Cooper Flagg is so good. He is a two-way stud that is going to turn a franchise around from day one. And I think that's also what's more intriguing about Flagg as a prospect than Zion, because of the elite defensive potential from day one. He could be on an all-defensive team as a rookie, and he can really just turn Utah's franchise around, who he has him going to here at number 1, or he could turn around Washington's franchise or Charlotte's franchise, or any of these teams that are looking for that number 1. And that lottery, man, whoever wins the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes, it's going to change so much for them going forward. So yeah, we have Utah getting Cooper Flagg number 1 overall. They get that blue chip prospect that they haven't really gotten in the draft over the last few years. Cody Williams has had a very up and down rookie year, and maybe more bad than good. But Filipowski and Collier have showed some flashes, some late picks, and obviously in the past with Sensabaugh, Keontae, unfortunately Hendricks is hurt, but they've had some guys over the last few years that have shown flashes to be complementary pieces, role players at their peak. But Flagg is a franchise changer, and I would love to see him in Utah. And I've tweeted about this before. I think guys like Mark Williams, Alex Sarr, and Walker Kessler, for example, big men that are going to play next to Cooper Flagg at the NBA level, are going to see their value increase so much because of Cooper Flagg's playmaking ability and what he could do in that front court as a partner. So yeah, Cooper Flagg goes number 1. He has pro comparisons as Jalen Johnson and Kevin Garnett. I don't really see Kevin Garnett in his game whatsoever. I honestly see a lot, I see the Kawhi Leonard comp a little bit, but I think Flagg's a little bit more athletic than Kawhi was at San Diego State. And now that he's been a good shooter this year, the ball handle has gone better, especially in the clutch over the course of the year. And his weak side helper, his shot blocking ability is insane. He's gonna be the number 1 pick, and he's gonna be I wonder where you put him on a top 25, under 25 very soon. Number 2, Washington gets Dylan Harper. He recently just declared for the NBA draft. No shocker there, as he's been a top 3 pick all year. there's maybe like, I'm trying to think in a scenario where Dylan Harper doesn't go number 2, and maybe if this is Philadelphia picking number 2 overall, I think there's 2 players that could leapfrog Dylan Harper. Some team has to fall in love with Ace Bailey and see what his upside could be as a wing scorer, but Dylan Harper outplayed him this year on the same team, so I don't really think that's going to happen. The only other person I think that could end up going number 2 overall is Khaman Maluach, just because he's still so new to the game of basketball. Picked it up a couple years ago, and I think he's going to be an elite rim protector at the minimum. And I think what you're going to get on offense is just an added bonus to what the value he's going to provide you defensively, because he's an amazing shot blocker for being as raw as he is. And you may look at the advanced stats, you may look at the block percentage or the block rate, and it's not as intriguing as some of the other rim protecting prospects we've seen in the past, because if you're watching, dude, nobody wants to shoot up against them. He's kind of had that Wemby effect of college basketball, and I don't think Washington would take Khaman at number 2. They would definitely take Dylan Harper. I'm wondering if this ended up being the Philadelphia 76ers at number 2. Philadelphia, who have a ton of guards. I think Charlotte would still take Dylan Harper. New Orleans, if they really think Khaman could be a much better center than Yves Missi, maybe they look at Khaman over Dylan Harper. But I would say there's probably like a 70% chance Dylan Harper goes number 2 overall, because Khaman has just helped out his draft stock a ton as of late. But yeah, Dylan Harper, for what he's able to do with the ball in his hands, how crafty he is as a scorer, 6'6". I think you just got to worry about how consistent that shot's going to be, because I think that can affect if he's going to be a 1 or a 2. He uses Kobe White, De'Aaron Fox, and Jalen Brunson as comps. I don't really love those comps at the moment. I think he's got like the footwork potential of Jalen Brunson. I just don't think he's as quick as De'Aaron Fox. Now, he's very shifty with the ball in his hands, but I feel like Fox was maybe more downhill. And Harper is downhill, but I think he slows down the game a little bit more and doesn't play as fast of a pace. But good court vision, good combo guard. I'm excited to see him on basically every team next year that he could end up being on. Number 3, we have Charlotte. Okay, going VJ Edgecombe over Ace Bailey. I think when you look at floor, Edgecombe has a higher floor than Ace Bailey. But when you look at ceiling, I do think Ace has a little bit higher of a ceiling, but I think VJ is probably somebody that Charlotte needs. I think if you were going to revisit Mark Williams trade options, I think Khaman could also still be in play at number 3. But Edgecombe is somebody you can put in perfectly, slide in right there into that lineup with LaMelo Ball at the 1, him at the 2, Miller at the 3. He can help you out defensively. He could be an alley-oop threat, run in transition, incredible athlete, good point of attack defender, and I think is a very safe prospect for the Hornets at number 3. I would not be shocked if he's shooting 28% from 3 through his first 3 months of his career. Like he struggled out of the gate for Baylor, but as he gets more comfortable, as he gets better looks, and the shot die gets better over the course of the year, I think he's going to be a very good prospect. So I do agree with that. I would take Edgecombe over Bailey there at number 3. Number 4, we have Ace Bailey going to the New Orleans Pelicans. I think this is a very intriguing fit on both ends. Like, they have a lot of wings right there, right? You have Zion, Herb, Murphy, Hawkins, McCollum. A lot of guys under contract, or they're invested too. I know McCollum's a expiring deal next year. Bruce Brown could be back. How does Ace Bailey work on this team? Do you think you could put him in the front court defensively with Yves Missi or whoever their center is going to be? Do you think he could play out there with Zion Williamson? I wonder how he's going to be as an off-ball player and with the ball not in his hands as much. I think this is one of my, I don't know. I think like you're adding just the quality of player in Bailey, and I'm okay with that. But I think there's 2 fits that I really like for Ace Bailey, and it's Brooklyn and Utah. But I think New Orleans I like a little bit more than maybe Washington, Charlotte, or Philly, or Washington or Charlotte, I would say, or Toronto. So Pelicans get Ace Bailey there at number 4. They're taking the best player available. I would do the same. He's my 4th rated prospect, but I'm starting to see the positional value in Khaman Maluach at the NBA level. I think he's very close to a prospect that Sar was last year in terms of value. I mean, Sar was a little bit better as a ball handler, felt more comfortable out there offensively. Khaman, I mean, he's flirted with threes this year. His form doesn't look bad in warmups. I just wonder if that's really going to be something that's going to be a thing at the NBA level. If you remember, not too long ago in the 2023 draft, everybody thought Derik Lively was going to be a floor-spacing big. We haven't seen that at the NBA level. And like even Zach Edey, we're not going to see as many threes as we may have thought, or Donovan Clingan that people will flirt with. They'll take threes at the combine. But yeah, I'm going to have the Pelicans there at number 4 taking Ace Bailey, or he has them taking Ace Bailey. He uses the player comp as Brandon Miller, Michael Porter Jr., Rashad Lewis. I do agree with those as well. I like the MPJ. I see a little bit of Brandon Ingram in him also, but obviously a little bit lankier, and it's going to be 18 on draft night. Whoa! Yeah, I disagree with this. Brooklyn taking Derek Queen at number 5. Just the Nets season that they have and how bad their roster was on paper and how this is supposed to be the year they get a premier draft pick and you end up with Derek Queen. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I would take Khaman if you're going to go big man here. I just don't see any scenario, especially for the Brooklyn Nets in their position, to try to go maybe a safer prospecting queen who's like a good ball handler. He's got a good touch inside. I just think Khaman is a much better prospect on both ends of the floor. And if I'm the Nets, I see maybe not taking Tre Johnson if you're going to re-sign Cam Thomas. Maybe you look at Quentin Grimes in free agency. Kasparas at 5. I know he hasn't really helped out his value over the last couple of weeks of his Illinois freshman season. Kon Knueppel at 5 is way too high. I would take the upside of Khaman here at number 5. So he is Derik Queen, which I think is a shocker. He has Şengün as a player comp. Also don't really see that too much either. I mean, maybe defensively. I'm not the biggest fan of Queen defensively, and now maybe Day'Ron Sharper's gone. What happens with Nick Claxton? Can he play next to these guys? Because I don't know. Who's the most intriguing young asset on the Nets? I guess it's Cam Thomas by default, but after that, is it like Noah Clowney? Philadelphia at 6, a little bit of a shocker, going Jeremiah Fears. I don't like this fit for Fears at all whatsoever. I do think he's somebody that needs to have the ball in his hands that can, I think, be surrounded by some shooters and a good pick and roll big, and I just don't know if he's going to really have that in Philadelphia. Obviously, you have Joel Embiid, but is his pick and roll partner going to be Gershon Yabusele when he's coming off the bench? Because you got Maxey and McCain ahead of him right now. I think there's some better fits out there. Oh my God, I would take Khaman Maluach in a heartbeat. I know it's not exciting to take and also Quentin Grimes is there. I know it's not exciting to take a backup, but hey, Joel Embiid, how many good years does he have left? I think you could take the high upside of Khaman, and it worked last year with Jared McCain at Duke. I would take Khaman over Jeremiah Fears. I know Kon Knueppel isn't a sexy prospect for his ceiling, but I would take him in Philadelphia. I would look at Tre Johnson as well over Jeremiah Fears. He has Jaden Ivey, which I like that comp, and Scoot Henderson for Fears, who I think is a pick and roll maestro. I think the shot is going to be inconsistent out of the gate, but I just wonder what his playing time is going to be under Nick Nurse or whoever the next head coach is going to be there in Philadelphia. Number 7, Toronto gets Khaman Maluach. I mean, that's been mocked all year for Toronto because one, that's kind of the long-term hole they have on their team after Pirtle, and how much longer is Pirtle going to be there? And then the Masai Ujiri connection, because I think there's the Africa Academy connection, or at least him being from Africa and Masai Ujiri's ties to Africa. People have been like, oh, that makes sense. If there's any type of fit, let's just throw him there. And I mean, Khaman and Scotty Barnes in the front court defensively would be so much fun to watch. Like, I think Scotty, I know it's not been the best year for maybe his hopes for taking that leap, or maybe the Raptors' hopes in general this year, but I think Scotty has made some incredible defensive plays yet again this year, and I think he can complement Khaman very nicely, like Cooper Flagg has over there at Duke. And I do think Khaman will benefit somebody as mobile and agile as like Cooper Flagg and Scotty Barnes if he does go to the Raptors. If he's on the board at 7 for Toronto, I'm not even thinking twice about this. This is the pick I am making. The only other person that I like, I think, to Toronto more in the top 7 that has gone would be Dylan Harper, and obviously Cooper Flagg, but more so Dylan Harper. I think the only other position you're looking at for this team, I wouldn't mind getting like a true point guard. Like, I know Emmanuel Quickley has shown some playmaking ability, but I don't mind also running out some lineups with an initiator plus Emmanuel Quickley playing off ball, more so like he did in New York, which I think you can get value out of that as well. But maybe this is if like the Raptors fall to 8 or 9, and then you're looking at like Kasparas, Yegor, Jase, Richardson, or Fears, or whatever point guard prospect you like. So Toronto gets Khaman at 7. I think that's great value. Mark Williams is the comp. I think Miles better as a rim protector, and Williams went to Duke as well. So San Antonio looks into Tre Johnson at number 8. I mean, this team needs some shooting. They need some floor spacing ability. And you're telling me they could take Tre Johnson or Kon Knueppel here at 8. I think that's a home run fall for the Spurs, and you're getting one of the best shooters in this draft in Tre Johnson. They're gonna have the Hawks pick a little bit later, and they could also get another great shooter on the board, either being Con, McNeely. Well, McNeely's not great, but I think has the traits, and I like Isaiah Evans from Duke a ton. So yeah, Tre Johnson going to the Spurs at 8, I think is incredible value. Tower Hero is the comp, and you're looking at the team next year of like Fox and Castle, who I think are going to be inconsistent shooters. Keldon Johnson, inconsistent shooter. Sohan, inconsistent. Wemby and Vassell, you're like best shooters right now. I mean, getting Tre Johnson in that locker room is amazing, and that's a home run pick for the Spurs. I mean, if they end up winning the lottery and they get Cooper Flagg, people are going to think the NBA is rigged. I wonder like what would be the most rigged team. I guess it's like Dallas. I guess it's probably like somehow OKC ends up getting number 1, which it can only really happen from the Clippers, I believe. And then I guess it's like the Spurs if they get 1. I don't think people will think it's rigged for Philly, but you never know. Portland here at number 9. I mean, I'd love to see Cooper Flagg out there with Denny and Kamara and Klingon, but they end up getting Jase Richardson at 9. I don't know how their fans would feel about another guard here. Now, I don't think Richardson is like a true point guard right now. I think he could play off ball. He's an incredible shooter, great decision maker, good finisher out around the rim, and I think can be a valuable off ball player. That's, if you're watching on YouTube, this is a funny photo against Auburn. And I think Richardson finished on a strong note and would not be shocked at all if he went in the top 10. I think more so for Portland. Like, you got Scoot, you got Sharp, what Simons' future on this team. And I want shooting here, so I'm fine with Jase Richardson because he is a good shooter. I think Kon would make a little bit more sense over there in Portland. He uses Reed Shepherd as a comp. Definitely not as athletic as his dad was, Jason Richardson. So at number 10, we have the Miami Heat getting Kon Knueppel out of Duke. Kon has really helped out his draft value over the last few March Madness games. He uses Kevin Huerter, Corey Kispert, and Sadiq Bey as comps. But I think Knueppel is a lower ceiling than a lot of these prospects and even some guys that are going to go after him. But I just think his floor is also so high because I think he plays very hard. I don't know how great of a defender he's going to be at the NBA level right now. I think he plays like incredibly hard. I mean, I think there's going to be an athleticism gap between him and some very quick wings he would have to guard. But I think he's a very good decision maker, can finish around the rim, and is arguably the best shooter in this draft class. I would say he or Tre Johnson is maybe like are the two best shooters in this class, and the degree of difficulty that Kon Knueppel can knock down these threes would be so valuable. I mean, if Miami's going to lose Duncan Robinson this offseason, that's an easy replacement right there. I think they could also benefit from a point guard. Kasparas Jakucionis is on the board. I don't know how you would feel about him in Miami if you're a Heat fan, because Fears and Richardson I like as better fits, and they're both off the board. So next up at 11, we have Colin Murray-Boyles going to Chicago. Yeah, I think this is fine with me. I don't think, like, with Khaman and Derik Queen off the board, you're not landing somebody there. I don't think they need to target a guard whatsoever. So I would like a wing. I'm surprised he has Kasparas outside the top 11. This is the lowest I've seen him in a little bit since like the beginning of the year. I wonder like how Asa Newell would fit with Matzas there. And I think there's some kind of fun front court lineups between those two guys. But Murray-Boyles, I would say is the second best defender in this class on the perimeter outside of Cooper Flagg. And he could play up. Like, he's, 6'7", at 245, but he's strong, he's physical. And yeah, like, he's not much different of a height from like Julius Randle at Kentucky. And I think the big thing with Murray-Boyles is value in the NBA and his ceiling. Will he be a shooter? If not, he's not going to have that much value outside of like, I think being a defensive specialist, which is fine. And you'll make plenty of money and be a very valuable player. But if you really want to, I think, be just like, or elevate your ceiling, it's his 3-point shot. And will that come here at the NBA level? So Houston gets Kasparas Jakucionis at 12. I mean, this has been like a fears mock all year. This pick is from the Suns. I think this is incredible value. I'm still high on Kasparas. I just think, I know like the end of the season wasn't kind to him, and I know we turned the ball over a lot. I want to say turnovers are a little bit overrated. I don't know if that's crazy to say, but you know who turns the ball over a lot? Trae Young. You know who turns the ball over a lot? Cade Cunningham. And I know they're going to be, those are way higher usage guys than we'll probably ever see Jakucionis in his career. But I think you can live with some of the bad that I think can develop over time with the decision making. And there are some bad turnovers from Kasparas at Illinois, but there's also some where I see that. Maybe it's a player not holding on to the ball. Maybe it's a defender making just an incredibly good play. There's some good defensive teams in the Big Ten. And I would take a chance on him at number 12. I think for Houston, this is great value. And I would be thrilled about taking the chance on Jakucionis here. Uses Chauncey Billups as a comp, but 6'6", 200, plays very fast, twitchy, good ball handler. It's just, will the shot be consistent enough at the NBA level? Noa Essengue going to the Mavericks at 13. I mean, yeah, with Fears and Jase off the board, I don't think I would take Nolan Traore here. I would think a little bit about Ben Seraph, and I know Essengue could be a versatile, like, big/wing hybrid, good off-ball player, going to be an inconsistent shooter out of the gate. I just don't know if I really like that fit in Dallas, let alone there in the lottery. I'm a little bit lower on Essengue. I think I'd take the athleticism upside of, I mean, Essengue has upside athletically, but I like Rasheer Fleming a ton. I like Isaiah Evans. This might be a little bit high at 13. Same with Will Riley and Carter Bryant, because I think those guys do have a high ceiling as well. Asa Newell going to the Hawks there at 14. I'm a big fan. Oh my God, I would love this. I also thought about, like, what about Atlanta as a Giannis team in the offseason? They have, I mean, they still have some picks going out to San Antonio, but they got a Pelicans-Bucks pick from the Murray trade. You have Jalen Johnson. You're going to have maybe a 14th pick via the Kings and a Lakers pick. I don't know. I'm just saying out there. You have a Kung Wu, but Asa Newell, I would love, can catch alley-oops, a great rim runner, and it was the same reason why I wanted to see Alex Sarr in Atlanta, and Reece Shea has been great, but I think big men coming in that have a little bit just trying to like feel for, have a, I don't know, a better feel for the game. But I think Newell's got a good feel for the game, and he's learning. And I think playing with such a good playmaker and veteran point guard, one of the best passers in the league, is just going to do wonders for his development. He has Jalen Smith, Brandon Clark, and Jonathan Isaac as the comp. I do like the Brandon Clark comp. As is like floor. Orlando going Carter Bryant at 15. I don't really love this. I think it's a little bit of a reach. I know there's 3-and-D upside in Carter Bryant, but it's just not safe. And if he's not a good shooter, I worry about that because this team needs shooting and they need, I think, another initiator in this offense with good court vision. And Yegor Demon is on the board. I know Yegor's not a good shooter, but I would take him. At 15, I like Isaiah Evans a ton here. I like Will Riley a ton. Lee McNeely's on the board, but his value is definitely taking a little bit of a hit. So he has them going Carter Bryant, which you're really taking a home run swing here. Marcus Morris is his comp. 16, we have the Spurs getting Liam McNeely. So they land Tre Johnson and McNeely as they went UConn in the top 10 last year with Stephon Castle. They take McNeely here. I mean, you're getting shooting upside with McNeely, who had a really good stretch in the beginning of the year before he suffered that injury in January. He did not have a good end to the year, struggled defensively in the tournament, but I do think will be a good three-point shooter in the NBA. And the looks he's going to get playing next to Wemby, I think it could just be amazing for his development right now. 17, Brooklyn snags Ben Seraph, so they had Derek Queen go earlier. This pick is via the Bucks. Probably the next best point guard on the board. I go back and forth between him and Demon. I think Demon's a better passer, but I think Seraph has a little bit better scoring upside. They're both I think Demon's a little bit taller than Seraph. For sure, he definitely is. But I do think I like Seraph's upside. And I like going and playing for Jordi Fernandez looks like it's going to be a great developmental path. Utah getting Yegor Demon at 18. I mean, Yegor and Cooper Flagg in the same draft. This pick is via Minnesota. That is huge. I forget, Utah's going to have that Minnesota pick, which it's unprotected. And if that pick is 18, 17, 16, that's in a good place to be. And you can really take a swing there because you got such a safe prospect in your franchise. It's going to look so much better with Cooper Flagg on your team that you could take a chance on Yegor Demon or Nolan Traore there at number 18. Josh Giddey's the comp. No shocker there. Ben Seraph's comp was Manu Ginobili. Minnesota at 19, Nolan Traore. I think this team does need, a pass first point guard because I think Dillingham is kind of an off-ball or likes to be a score-first guard, and Conley's getting up there in age, and I don't know if Anthony Edwards is a long-term one for you, and I think you're taking a chance on Traore. This is from the Cat trade, and I think he's got upside and is definitely the next best point guard on the board. I don't think you're looking at LeBaron Philon here or Tahad Pettiford, who can both go back to school. You're not looking at Boogie Fland here. Maybe a Sergio Delaria. I think you're taking a flyer on him. I'd rather have Traore, who I think is the next best point guard on the board. Nick Clifford going to Miami at 20. This is from the Jimmy Butler trade, so they're going to end up with Kon Knueppel and Nick Clifford. So they go wing heavy here. I think they still need a point guard, but I wouldn't reach on one here specifically either. So I'm fine with Nick Clifford. I mean, he's a physical guy, he's a smart player, and I think Spo would get the most out of him. All right, so let's get here into 21. Oh, and they have Nick Clifford as the comp is Cody Martin, which I could see that for sure. Oklahoma City getting Danny Wolf at 21. Oh my God, I would love this. This pick is from the Clippers. Danny Wolf, his ability to play with Chet and Hardenstein, coming from playing with Vlad Golden, that would be a great fit. I love that, honestly. And they could use some more big man depth so they're not getting into the Carlsons of the world. And I think if you can't afford Jay Will when he's a free agent because you can't afford everybody in OKC, and Hardenstein, you may not be able to afford him in 2 years. Danny Wolf is a beautiful fit here in OKC with his playmaking and potentially could be a good three-point shooter. I would also think about Thomas Sorber, who they have going 22 to Indiana. If that injury can drop him to 22, this is a home run pick for the Pacers. I think he's got the second highest upside or best potential as a rim protector in this draft. Outside of Maluach. I like his rim protection more than Danny Wolf. And Derek Queen, other centers we've talked about here. And Indiana needs one with Miles Turner being an unrestricted free agent. Isaiah Jackson coming off an Achilles injury and is going to be a free agent as well. The comp is Onyeka Okongwu. And going back to Danny Wolf in OKC, I wonder if OKC would pick up that third-year option on Hardenstein at $26 million. Because I thought, no, they're probably not going to do that, right? Because they got the Chet and J-Dub extensions this offseason, a Shea Supermax. But the way he's playing, they might. 23, Wizards getting Will Riley. I love this for them. I would look at Will Riley or Isaiah Evans 100% here. And if Riley does declare for the draft, I think he's another person that could stay at school. This is phenomenal value for the Wizards at 23 with his scoring upside, and I like that. And him and Dylan Harper in the same draft is great. His comp is current Wizard, Keyshawn George. Atlanta going Noah Penda at 24. I don't have a first round pick on Penda. I worry about like the decision making, his ability to create separation. The 3-point shot could be a little bit inconsistent as well. He has that size to be kind of like a stretch 4. The comp is Nick Batum. I don't mind that in Atlanta. And for a mock, not like a big board, like that does seem like an Atlanta Hawks pick as of late. But with Rasheer Fleming on the board, who I'd love to see in Atlanta, like that's a steal for Orlando there at 25. I know they don't land. I mean, like, I think Fleming could be a little bit inconsistent of a shooter. So them going Bryant and Fleming, like, you're really taking an upside on athleticism on the perimeter, which I don't know if that's really what Orlando needs. But I think for him going 25, I would have him as a lottery pick as well. And I think that's great value. The comp is Taylor Hendricks, which I think he's way more fluid with the ball than Hendricks was at UCF. Jackson Lindenberg to the Nets here at 26, joining Ben Seraph and Derek Queen here in this mock, and Yaxel just went into the transfer portal. So hey, he gets $2 to $3 million in NIL money. He's probably staying in college basketball. 22 years old. Jalen Slauson, crazy comp, and Enrique Freeman, who was in the draft last year, as the comparisons for Lindenberg, who I think is way better of an offensive player. Maybe not defensively as those guys. As Lindenberg, yeah, is going to test the transfer portal waters, and the Nets take another chance on upside here, like Ben Seraph, but they take Hugo Gonzalez from Real Madrid, who I think is a good ball handler. I think he's got good defensive size and athleticism. He's just not really much of an offensive weapon right now at Real Madrid. He's, like he mentions here, 3.3 points in 10 minutes a game. I mean, you're really taking the chance on non-professional play, like the under 18 stuff. And then you're also taking a chance just on what he could be in a couple years. And I think the Nets, like having 4 first-round picks, you could take a lottery ticket for sure. And I feel like they're not going to make all 4 first-round picks. Teams never do. Celtics getting JT Toppin at 28, another guy that could stay in college basketball if he could make more money there, enter the transfer portal. But if he goes and declares, I like him over like Janai Broome in this draft, and they use Precious Achiuwa as a comp, and I think the Celtics could try to grab another big. They went Baylor Shireman in the first round last year. Whoa, we have Walter Clayton Jr. in the first round now. Definitely somebody that's helped out his draft stock throughout March Madness. He goes to the Phoenix Suns at 29. I think they could use a center. I would look at like Alex Condon, Janai Broome, Maxime Reynaud, or Kalkbrenner here, or Joanne Berenger, but maybe not Berenger because he's not NBA ready. They need somebody NBA ready, so maybe I would take Kalkbrenner, but I do like Clayton Jr. if they're going to reshuffle some of their scoring in the offseason, and he has a player comp as Fred VanVleet. And then we have Cam Jones to the Clippers at 30, a player that I think should also, like, I mean, him in Boston, I think would be a great fit. I like him in Phoenix as well. I think Cam Jones should go higher than this. I know his shot wasn't as consistent this year as it was in previous years for Marquette, but I do think he's one of the best decision makers, and he's a good playmaker, and I think he can hold his own defensively as well at the NBA level. So I'll go through the second round a little bit more, or a little bit quicker. We have Minnesota via Utah getting Maxime Reynaud. So like them having Utah's pick at 31, like that's amazing for Minnesota, and they're going to get a big man here. I like the value in Reynaud. I think I like Condon a little bit more, but with Randall and Naz Reid being free agents, they don't really have a lot of center depth on their team after Gobert, who's not getting any younger. Boston getting Janai Broome at 32, so they have the Wizards second, and getting Broome and Toppin. Oh my God, just getting baller, like top college playing front court players here in this draft. I think that's good value for Boston at 32. Markieff Morris is the comp. Charlotte Hornets getting Bennett Sturts at 33. See, I think Sturts did put his name in the NBA draft, but he's transferring to Iowa to follow his head coach. So I think Tyler Kolek, I could see Tyler Kolek. I think Sturts could be a better defender, and I feel like he's a little bit better of an athlete than Kolek is, but he's going to stay in college, in my opinion, even though I would take him around there. Thomas Hall, okay, yeah, somebody that's definitely helped out his value throughout Florida, throughout the tournament. Chandler Parsons at the comp. I do wonder if he's going to, I forget like what his class is, because I haven't really focused on him too much. Like for Florida this year, it's been Clayton, it's been Elijah Martin, and it's been Alex Condon, but he's definitely making a name for himself throughout the draft. Miles Uzan from Houston, another player that's also helping out his player throughout the draft, who I could have mentioned earlier as well. And yeah, I guess he's like riding a lot on these March Madness performances here in the early part of the second. Isaiah Evans to the Nets at 36. I'm high on him because I think he's one of the better shooters in this class. I would take him as high as 15 to Orlando, but that's like my hot take this year for the draft, and he's like my guy. Detroit going upside Joanne Berenger at 37. Like Jonathan Givony of ESPN has Berenger, who's so raw as a prospect in like the lottery, which I think is kind of crazy. Jericho Sims is his comp. It's funny. Markovic from Mega Basket here at 38 to the Spurs, another international player. He uses Poku as the comp. 39, Duthero, going to the Raptors. Good athlete, good player in transition. I think he's a good defender. You just worry about the outside shot at the NBA level. He uses Keldon Johnson as a comp. I like that. Alex Tui to the Warriors at 40 could really, I think, be a nice fit in that Warriors offense. I like that. If you're trying to go safe shooter, I think Caravan would make a little bit more sense, though. That's who I would take. Sacramento getting Kalkbrenner at 41. Who knows the future with Sabonis? This pick is from the Bulls. Valanciunas is older as a backup 5. I think getting more depth is good. Colin Castleton, I mean, yeah, Kalkbrenner isn't going to be as agile, but he's a lob threat. He's a rim protector. He's an older prospect. Chaz Lanier here at number... Does he just not tell me what... Okay, I guess this is 42. He just stopped listing it there. That's probably just an editing error. Seth Curry, Alec Burks is the comp. I think Lanier is just like a tough player, smart player. I would take him in the second round as well. Tyrese Proctor at 43. I'm surprised he doesn't have him in the first round the way he's been playing in this tournament. Smart player, doesn't turn the ball over, knows when to make the extra pass, smart defender, and a fantastic shooter. OKC, we can't allow him there at number 43. I think he's way better than Shake Milton as a comp. Orlando, Boogie Fland at 44. I like this. I mean, Fland, I don't think has as good of court vision. I'm surprised we haven't seen LeBaron file on here. But Fland, good three-point shooter. Worry about his finishing at the rim. Bone talent is the comp. I like that. Ian Jackson to the Bulls at 45. I would take Drake Powell over Ian Jackson, but I think both those guys could stay at school. Malik Beasley is the Ian Jackson comp. I don't think as good of a shooter as like Malik was at Florida State. Alex Condon falling all the way to the Jazz here at 46, so they get a front court guy in Cooper Flagg and a franchise shooting talent. You get Alex Condon for some big man depth, and then you take Yegor Demon. I mean, it's all like white dudes here to the Utah Jazz, which is not helping the stereotype there. And Jakob Poeltl's the comp. Yeah, I think he should go above Hall, his teammate there at Florida. Darren Williams to the Cavs at 47, a player that has probably helped out his draft stock through a nice tournament play. And he could also stay at school, maybe hit the transfer portal. He's going to the Cavs, which I think is good value for them. Michael Ruzic to the Wizards at 48, the definition of a lottery ticket. He might never play in the NBA, or he might end up being a steal here at 48. Mo Wagner's the comp. 49, the Clippers take Alex Caravan. Are you kidding me? Cam Jones and out. Wait, did they get Cam Jones earlier? If you're telling me they're going to get Cam Jones and Alex Caravan from the Big East, that is insane. Wow. Yeah, that would be an A+ draft for me for the Clippers, but I don't think those two players will be available when they went. Like, no way. I don't think Caravan's going to be available there at 49. I mean, that would be an amazing pick. And I think he's a smarter player than what George Niang was coming out of Iowa State. Sergio Delaria here, 50 to the Jazz. I think is like kind of like this year's Juan Nunez. You hope he's going to be a rotational point guard. You hope he's going to be somebody that can get to the rim, but is a good playmaker. And I think you're trying to figure out if he's like a true one or is just like more of like a spot up three-point shooter at the NBA level. But he's got good size, and I think is a better prospect than Juan Nunez for sure. Jameer Watkins to the Wizards at 51. I think just a safe pick here by the Wizards. I like some other guys that are on the board for what his age is, and I think what his upside is for a Washington pick. Xavier Lee from Princeton, I think is somebody that's going to be a late second / undrafted free agent guy, kind of like Eric Dixon, if we see his name here. Mohamed Faye to the Knicks at 53. I mean, them going center, I mean, the Knicks could definitely use another big man, but I also think they could use Kobe Brea, who's on the board from Kentucky. I would be a big fan of that. Yeah, I would take Kobe Brea over Mohamed Faye, 100%. Next up at 54, Kobe Bryant to the Lakers. I mean, that's a home run pick for LA. I would be very pissed if that happens. But the Knicks have like that Kentucky connection, so I'm hoping they would take him if he's on the board. Zion James, who I would take a chance on in the second round. Love that pick to Phoenix. Him and Ryan Dunn defensively would be a lot of fun. Offensively, not so sure on, but Zion James is a good three-point shooter as well. Dink Pate, his value has kind of dropped a little bit this year, but I think Memphis taking a chance on him at 56. I love that fit for him. Eric Dixon, here we go, late second rounder, mentioned him before, to Orlando. Talented scorer in the half court. Eric Pascal, who also went to Nova, right? Is his comp. Rocco Zikarsky to the Cavs at 58. I've mocked like Tomislav or Zavonimir VC here, and I know Zavonimir is entering the transfer portal. Zikarsky had a chance in the beginning of the year playing in the NBL to be the best center in this draft. His stock has not been kind to him, and I think this is also like a Hansen Yang spot as well. And then Vlad Golden to the Rockets to 59. I don't know. I'm taking Tomislav VC. I'm taking Hansen Yang over Golden, I think, for somebody that could be a true center at the NBA, but I would use an undrafted spot on Golden. Like, if all these guys declare, this is a deep draft class, and there's plenty of guys that went undrafted that I think would go. For sure. Like, he didn't mention Tomislav or Zvonimir Visic or Hansen Yang, and those are just some of the centers off the top of my head. He doesn't have any like honorable mentions, but yeah, Todd Pettiford, LeBaron Philon, like it's going to be interesting. Like Drake Powell also didn't go in here, which is kind of shocking. RJ Lewis, probably not going to get drafted. Definitely, probably not. Yeah. So hope you guys did enjoy me reacting to Bleacher Report's 2-round mock draft after March Madness. He's putting a lot of stock into some of these guys having good tournament runs. You can let me know what you agree with or disagree with if you're watching on YouTube and if you're listening to Apple Podcasts or Spotify in that audio version. I'd appreciate you dropping a 5-star review or a rating. It really can help the podcast grow and can make it go a long way. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.